Did you know that more men actually wish for a bigger penis than those who wish they were taller? Surprising, right? I'm a urologist, and today we're going to dive deep into the topic of penile girth enhancement. We'll talk about why men want it, what the research says, and what options are really out there based on scientific evidence. Before we get into treatments, let's start with a why. Studies show that men often overestimate what's considered normal penis size. In fact, in one large study of 26,000 men, 45% said they wanted a bigger penis, while only 38% said they wanted to be taller. And here's the interesting part. The majority of these men seeking augmentation actually fall within normal size ranges. In a smaller study, when men were asked what they thought the average flaccid length was, they guessed around 13 centimeters. But in reality, the true average is closer to 8 to 10 centimeters. On top of that, other studies show that up to 91% of men feel their penis is too short or too thin, even when that isn't the case. Now, what about body dysmorphia? That's when someone becomes overly fixated on what they think is a flaw in their body, to the point that it impacts their life. For men pursuing penile augmentation, the rate of true body dysmorphia is relatively low, somewhere between 10 and 15%. But for those men, the impact can be severe. They may avoid locker rooms, intimate moments, or sexual encounters, and many experience low self-esteem or sexual dysfunction. So, while it's not the majority, it's important to recognize how deeply this issue can affect some people. So, why do men seek penile girth enhancement in the first place? The most common reasons are to improve confidence, change the way their penis looks, increase sexual function, or address feelings of insecurity. Sometimes even medical issues play a role. For many, self-worth gets tied to the size of their genitals, making this a very complex and emotional decision. And yes, people often compare it to women getting breast implants. A few years ago, I might have said we should focus only on self-confidence and therapy, but the truth is that for some men, no matter how much inner work they do, they still struggle. For them, if there's safe, effective data behind an option, enhancement can be a reasonable choice. Now, let's bust a myth right away. Those miracle pills or gummies you see online, they don't work. There's zero scientific evidence that oral supplements increase penis size. They're not FDA approved, and many contain hidden ingredients that can even be harmful. Still, this male enhancement industry is massive, expected to reach nearly $600 billion worldwide by 2025. But again, none of those oral products are proven to work. So, what about real research-backed options? A recent review looked at 29 studies covering about 3,500 men. But here's the catch. Only 5 of those studies had more than 100 participants, and only 10 followed men for over a year. So, overall, the evidence is small, scattered, and limited in quality. Let's go through the methods, starting with the least invasive. First up, vacuum erection devices. These work by drawing blood into the penis, temporarily making it bigger. But when researchers tested regular use, about 20 minutes, 3 times a week, they found no long-term increase in size. Satisfaction rates were also low. Next are penile traction devices. Think of these like braces for teeth, applying steady tension to remodel tissue. Early studies showed a small increase in length with daily use for 4 to 6 hours, but little to no effect on girth. So, they may help with length, but not girth. Moving on to injections, and there are several types. One of the earliest methods was autologous fat injections, where fat is taken from your body and injected into the penis. Studies did show increases of around 2 to 2.6 centimeters in girth, lasting up to a year for many men. But there were also complications: nodules, scarring, deformities, changes in sensation, and even one tragic case of a man dying from a fat embolism. Because of risks like these, this method is not recommended. Another attempt was liquid silicone injections, first used in the 1970s. But they often caused severe swelling, deformities, and long-term complications like granulomas and sexual dysfunction, even decades later. Again, not safe or recommended. So, What about fillers? These are used commonly in cosmetic procedures like lip or cheek enhancement. The most popular filler for penile girth is hyaluronic acid. Large volume injections initially showed good girth increases from 7.5 to 11.3 centimeters, but men sometimes reported reduced sensitivity or softer erections. Now, smaller, repeated doses are used to avoid these issues. The downside? These fillers aren't permanent and shrink over time. There's also polymethyl methacrylate, PMMA, a non-absorbable filler. Studies showed gains in both girth and length, but nearly half of patients developed nodules, ridges, or indentations. Removing it is difficult and can cause deformity, erectile dysfunction, and pain. So while results may look good at first, long-term safety is questionable. Now on to surgery, the most invasive category. Complication rates vary wildly, from 8% to as high as 100% in some studies. Issues include swelling, scarring, tissue death, infections, or the need for additional surgery. Some surgical techniques use grafts, for example, tissue taken from the groin or using porcine, pig dermal grafts. These did increase girth by 2 to 3 centimeters, but complications like fibrosis and even penile shortening were common. You may have heard of the Penile implant. Early data seemed promising, but over time, more reports of complications and revision surgeries have surfaced. The company has since made modifications, but it's still considered high risk, and long-term outcomes are unclear. The most radical surgery is corporal augmentation phalloplasty, which uses vein grafts sewn onto erectile tissue. In a small study of 39 men, girth increased during erection, but many developed temporary penile curvatures. This is a very invasive procedure with limited data. So where does this leave us? Right now, there's no standardized, widely accepted, and consistently safe way to increase penile girth. Many methods remain experimental, with underreported complications. If you're considering enhancement, it's crucial to research carefully and weigh the risks before making a decision. And remember, no matter what, take care of yourself because you are worth it. Consult your doctor for medical advice. This video is for informational purposes only and not a substitute for professional care.